What's going on, everyone? This is Michael Stewart-Isaacs.
And this is Shemekka Ebony.
And this is your next edition of Sunday Stacks. Yes, Sunday Stacks is back. And this episode, I promise, is going to be on the top of your rewind list because we are diving right into the movie origin, or should I say film. And we'll touch on that. Film versus movies. What's the difference? First, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, QuickBooks, for giving us an opportunity to continue to work with our audience out there who are entrepreneurs who are looking to make sure that all their books are in alignment. It is tax season, so make sure you get your books in alignment with QuickBooks software. There will be links in the description, so definitely make sure you click on that and tell people that you got it from Sunday Stacks.
I love it. I definitely keep my books in order with QuickBooks, and I love the snap feature that you can have to snap receipts in real time. So definitely loving that. I also want to lift up and share, we have the LeadHerShip Empowerment Group sponsored by Forum going on. So make sure if you're looking for a way to check in, hold yourself accountable, and ascend to that next level of who you want to become and letting go of those things, then tap into our While I'm Getting Naked self-care journals and jump into our next LeadHerShip Empowerment peer group, launching soon. So definitely go ahead and sign up. And if you're not signed up by February, this may be your last time to connect with us until maybe the summer.
Yes, now as we're looking to jump right into our theme of today, we are talking about the film origin. And as we let off, of course, Shemekka is a noted author, and this movie Origin is based on the book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. And it was a movie that was adapted by Ava DuVernay, the acclaimed film director. She just took this book that most people would probably see as maybe a more highbrow, complex read that really delves into the origins of humans, struggle with having to put some people above other people as means of laws and systems and practices. And it just was an amazing film that brought so much realistic emotion to the screen. I mean, it was just a great thing to just dive into. So as we're looking to unpack this, me and Shemekka will have a kind of dialogue on our thoughts of the film. And really, as I stated, the difference between a film and a movie is sometimes a movie will give you that, beginning, middle, and end, happy ending. And sometimes a film is meant to give you something even more. You show up to the movie theater, but you leave with a film intrigued, and your mind is constantly racing, and it sometimes gets to your heart in ways that don't necessarily bring closure. But that's what we're here today with the Sunday Stacks episode. We want to, for those who've seen the movie Origin, and we will encourage you to go out there and check it out, we want to just kind of have a safe place to unpack some of the concepts that were outlined in the film and talk about some of the actors that have just portrayed these phenomenal living figures that are out here who are doing such amazing things to really enlighten us all in regards to some of the social ills that we go through every day. And sometimes what I would define as the misnomers of how we see these social ills. Sometimes we want to just call everything racism, but sometimes there's a greater systematic nature which we've all felt before, but we haven't quite understood what words to put to it. And that's where this word caste comes into. So as we break that down throughout this conversation, normally we try to keep a tight format, but we definitely want to give ourselves enough time to unpack this conversation, as well as allow for you all to put your, questions or just comments in the chat and just continue to vibe with us here at Sunday Stacks as we try to unpack this phenomenal project in just as a family. We're FCC, Family Community Company. So we're here for you. And, let me just jump right out there. My opinions of the film were just, first, I'm still trying to unpack all the nature of it all in regards to just getting over the notion of race by itself. In my own work, what I do as a speaker, I try to really get into culture and really understand the importance of people. And I've come to the same realization that there is something systematic. The word caste has come through my research over the years, just to see this author, Isabel Wilkerson, take something that I believe was a dissertation level book that she created and had to create a thesis around it and connect different dots of different points of life, different lives across history, essentially, to make it where race isn't the main reason why discrimination happens, but there's something greater that even in cultures that people look alike, there's still something that happens within that culture that allows for people to be abased and some people treated as the lesser of one class than another. And that's essentially, you might call it classism, but it's also called the caste system for those who don't know. And, Shemekka, I don't want to, hog the airtime, but what was some of your thoughts in this concept, let alone the film?
It was so human connecting. When we think about the essence of, there were parts in the movie where the humanity kind of de-escalated the tension of the time in some cases. I think we've seen this, happen throughout time for safety reasons. It was some very tall, bold questions around how our behaviors or the assimilation of the cultural norms should be challenged. It was, very powerful to hear about Dr. Martin Luther King's speech that he shared. No, it was an interview in Ebony magazine where he talked about his visit to India and how caste is impacted over there, and that when he was presented to the people, they referenced him as the untouchable, which in their country is like the lowest of the low caste system. They were able to identify and parallel even with Dr. Martin Luther King and the experiences of Black people here in the United States, that he was identified the same way as being the untouchable because of the maltreatment that we've had to endure and survive here in America under the language of racism. But honestly, after this movie, I'm fully convinced that there is a bigger picture of caste system that's working against us, and we just have to be better equipped to do something about it.
And I think that's the nature of what we have to look at as people in a democracy that take on votes, but truly we live in a republic. And in those structures in themselves, from their European origins, they themselves have a nature of natural caste within them, a natural classism, a natural order of people's titles and so forth, who can and can't receive titles. And we've taken on these traditions due to the harsh way that a lot of our people and ancestors were brought into this country. So we look at things not just from the U.S. alone, but we look at it globally and how people are impacted. And that even though it is obvious in America that there's a difference to even have to call someone black or white, that there's a level of caste. It's not simply predicated on the fact that someone is black, dark skin, light skin, or white, fair skin or otherwise. It's truly because we've systematically within our society, within our laws, made certain people seem to be less than. We even know in the U.S. it literally put black people as one fifth of a man, so it's just these nature of what was written in law that showed the hearts of people at an old era in life, and the fact that we're still having to be kind of abased in laws that were written at a time when not everyone had inclusion at the table to craft those laws. Thus, we still want to kind of overwrite those laws today, but we still have the nature of those people who have those racial caste systems kind of still structured in it. And on top of that, I've always looked at systematic caste and societal ills kind of, especially here in the U.S., trapped into our languages. Sometimes if you don't speak as we try to use our voices here at Sunday Stacks, articulation, how you use and pronounce words really does make a difference to how people treat you sometimes in circumstances. And I know people might say I should be able to speak and do how I want to, or you may have a heavy accent because you're from another country or so many different reasons. But anyone who speaks this English in a way that sounds closest to its quote unquote queen's tongue, or is most, put into those, what they call those, the courts, the dukes and the lords and all that. When you have a certain vernacular about who you are, then it opens up doors for you within this language. And that tells you that the language itself and the nature of how laws are written with the same language have a binding nature on people, which is why English language, Anglo-Saxon crafted language, was like what I've come to learn through history and research is a spell casting language. It binds people. So when you say it, when you write it, when you sign on a contract behind it, it creates these binding notions. And I think that's part of why we're kind of stuck in this racial caste system, is because we're kind of all looped within this language, trying to process our own thoughts as kidnapped or traveling peoples who are trying to find settling but never really get fully settled because of the trauma of this country and this earth and this world.
That is so powerful that you lift this up, and we have, this film really challenges deeper conversations, especially with what we're facing today, with the shifting of, I would say, the adios, open door, exit strategy of what's happening to DEI. This is a way to help corporations and companies reimagine how they see themselves, how they show up, how they address this otherness that may be indicative or influenced by the caste system, even with their internal structure. So I see opportunity for growth. I saw opportunity in that movie theater also, for us to be showing up more, to not just go watch a movie, but do these movies and talk, like have these unpacking sessions like we're doing, because it does challenge us to help ourselves grow and to shift. There were some conversations that were unended in the the film, that I think is important to lift up, with the conversation with this author and a Jewish woman when she was visiting overseas doing research and interviews, because these are conversations I believe that we have. And then the power of what you said, Michael, around this behavior, learned behavior that has been, just internalized, that this is superiority and inferiority identity that we take on, pick up, and carry. I saw that also reflected in the film, in how not only addressing or identifying ways that we see ourselves, but the little disruptions that we're able to imagine and implement in how we move forward to create that change, is to just really disrupt the norm. And it does come with consequences and impact, but without change, what else do we have?
Yeah, I think, we were talking through preparation for this show, and one of the words that you had found within that I think connects, because the original book that Ava DuVernay adapted was called Caste, and it had of course, a subheader to it, but one of the words in it was origin. And I think she pulled the word origin as a word to kind of speak to how all this started. I think that was beautiful, but there was another word that you found within our research, and it was the word welfare. And when I think about welfare, right, we hear it in the U.S. as a term that sometimes gets waged against people in a negative fashion, right? You're a welfare recipient. You have welfare this, I was on welfare when I was a kid. And we as a community look at that sometimes as a bad, negative thing. But what did you come to find out when you looked up the definition of welfare?
Well, welfare in and of itself is English origin. So it's well and fair, both of English origin. But looking at it from the standpoint, at minimum, what I thought was so powerful was that it's the state of doing well, especially in respect to good fortune, happiness, well-being, or prosperity. I can't remember a time where I imagined, thought, connected welfare with the origin of its meaning, which is the state of doing well. Our attempt at welfare has not been focused on connecting to a state of doing well, or especially in respect to good fortune, happiness, well-being, or prosperity. Others define welfare that got into our system and policy came behind it was a range of government programs that provide financial or other aid to individual or groups who cannot support themselves.
Wow. So we taken a word that originally was meant to be an empowering word for society to do its best to take care of its citizens. It had the best of intention. Everyone, doesn't matter your race. But then we've taken it and made it this thing that as soon in this country as what's seen in, again, a caste mindset, that a black person receives something or someone who is African descent receives something, then therefore there's a negative connotation to things that were meant to be positive to lift all people up, including those who identify as white, who have European ancestry, who have, Scottish, Irish, German, you name it. But they've assimilated into this identity we like to call white that really has no cultural connotation to it. It's all systematically created as a means of this origin story, right? This caste system. So to even see yourself as white or black, you're putting yourself in a mental caste system. Like I've always tell people, I love all people. I'm a culture-based person. I'm pro-black because I'm beautifully black, brown, however you want to call me. But in the nature of humanity, I love all people. I love all cultural experiences. I love all food. There's no black person going to stop eating pasta because you say that you're being a sellout. So, it's like we don't think like that. But somehow we've created these connotations, limitations to our cultural experiences. Everyone eats Mexican food. People have certain types of food. You see some similarities in Mexican rice that you see in jollof rice. There's connections in all of us as humans across the globe. And I think that's the part that with the work that I love doing, particularly with I Am Brilliant, we've been trying to do that through this movement of capturing all people in all states of who they are and their humanity and showing
different abilities
and showing the light that comes out of all of us, regardless of what our belief systems are, regardless of what we look like, our skin texture, regardless of any types of anything. I mean, it's unfathomable for us to, have so much restrictions on our societies because of these systems that groups get forced into, and individuals then don't have the individual light to come out to change the world as we're all designed to do.
This film shows us a light into history of Berlin through some researchers that were anthropologists that saw kind of the beginning dangers and were able to see the book burnings that were happening from certain authors back then, and them not wanting to poison their mindsets and their mentalities and what they have come to believe is true. And they wanted to get rid of all these unclean books, this text, these authors that were banned. Seeing those books burn, just, the energy of that feel like it's coming back around, like we're experiencing and seeing it
Right.
In these times, like it real time history repeating itself.
We're watching it. I mean, you see Florida in the U.S. has, done that. And I state as the U.S. I know we have international listeners that enjoy the Sunday Stacks program. But, we have situations where there are books that have been created, legitimately published and written in a way to help tell other people's stories, regardless of the levels of extreme or tastefulness. There are books that were crafted, but we're now choosing what can and cannot be read or put in schools or in libraries and things of that nature to keep people from peering into certain lenses. So sometimes they won't be corrupted or influenced or anything. And I always tell people books are the original programs. Just like our computers need programs, our phones need apps to run. Books were the original apps, right? You're a human being with limited life experiences as a child, and then you take on this download of a book. So it does have impressionable nature. Magazines, all these things for those prior to technology, these were the original downloads. Now we've just crafted them in technology, but it's done the same way. And it's all indoctrination. It's all getting people different perspectives or windows into other worlds and other lives or other imaginations. And we have to not feel so threatened, because I guess we're looking at our family values and our traditions and things of that nature that people try to protect, rightfully so. But at the same time, we cannot stop a world that has started to talk to one another, started to trade with one another. As we're about to talk more about the film and the giving adulations to the actresses and the actors that were in the film, I do want to state one other thing to Ava DuVernay and even Miss Isabel Wilkerson's book. That when you look at life and you look at even the African trade system when it comes to slavery, a lot of people always talk about the one side of the Spanish bringing slaves over, however that went down, and, the Middle Passage. But we do have to talk about the continent and what happened in Africa. And that in itself should let people know that caste systems are more real than actual racial systems. That caste systems are the reason why there were blacks in Africa who would trade other people who were African blacks to the Spanish and otherwise, because they were warring tribes with one another, right? Our pure human disagreement with one another, our scarcity mentality, our feeling of lack of resources, our feeling of afraid before we feel empowered by somebody's new face is the issues that we fall into so many times that put us in this position to create these castes. In America, yes, caste systems are racially charged because it's very easy to know. And as much as I know there are white people out there who identify as white, as I should say, and I tell them to come out of that soberness. Don't call yourself white. What culture you come? What European country you came from? I'd rather call you, Scottish American or something than you want to be called white nowadays, right? Because again, that means you're accepting the caste system that was created here. And we're trying so much not to destroy a country that people live in, but make it a greater thing of its imagination and have more inputs from people who didn't have voices at the time and their ancestors who are now here today who want to say things that need to be contributed to our laws and our ways of practice with one another that don't infringe on other people having the rights, let alone the freedom to be able to be sovereignly who they are. And I think we want to hope for that to change as we look at the world. So
yeah, to your point, and getting back to the point with language, as we move forward, as we think about our future, as we think about what our outcomes we want to see different or better than what we have, we can't just want to call out somebody for being racist alone anymore. That's not enough. It's losing its power. It's like kind of taking the English language and trying to use it against the creative of the oppressor. Like, it doesn't have the same power, and it's losing power day to day. So before you just give up and lose hope, see the bigger picture. See that there's a greater war among us that's happening, and resensitize yourself to humanity. Because we've gotten so desensitized through looking at racism and, well, if you're not, on my side as the oppressed, then you're not it. Well, it's deeper than that. We're still missing it. One of the powerful things that I saw in this film that, I've seen also with Israel and Gaza and Palestine, these issues, they're killing their family members. Like, they look alike. How can, aside from someone's practices, how can we even tell our enemies apart? And we see this happening within the black community. We talk about it all the time, black on black crime, but we've been so desensitized to our readiness to harm other people. And it's because we're losing our capacity to see each other's humanness. Mm-hmm. So as we're looking at these global things going on, as we're seeing this hidden caste system that was hidden in plain sight, that is causing us to deteriorate and lose our own identity and connectedness, let's look into our future and shift the power of what was meant for evil to be constructed to be towards a greater good. And it's reconnecting with humanity and seeing the humanness in people and challenging people to find the humanness in others instead of the otherness, to cause for there to be a guard or a judgment against who these people identify with as individuals. As we move forward, we have to imagine a different future.
I love it, Shemekka. Thank you. And I think, we try here at Sunday Stacks to have bold conversations. We try to share our thoughts and how we think and help you all out there who want to frame your own thoughts around these types of topics. Family Community Company, FCC is what we call it. And, we really just kind of held this guard with our I Am Brilliant production team and what we're building. Content like Sunday Stacks comes from the work that we do with the I Am Brilliant movement as we continue to build and grow. I want to give a quick shout out to the movie Origin as we're discussing here. I want to shout out the film director, Ava DuVernay, someone who I've been fortunate to have worked with in this lifetime. So I feel honored. When she first started in Hollywood doing her first film project, I had an opportunity to work with her in a screening, and just, phenomenal human being. And I'm just so grateful and proud to have met her and worked with her, and then see who she's become to the world, telling these powerful, bold stories. Again, this is the director who gave us things like the, 13, on Netflix, things that are just really educating our people in ways that really help not just our people, meaning Black people, but all people have an awakening of what's been going on and how we're all kind of set up in this. Most importantly, I want to give a shout out to the author of the book, Caste, Isabel Wilkerson, but also we have to shout out Anjanou Ellis Taylor, the actress who portrayed. You did that. Bravo. I pray, as most people, I don't care about awards like that, but there's an award that honors the talent and the portrayal you did of this phenomenal author. It's just amazing. I mean, it was a moving portrayal. Just every way that Ava shot different scenes was just so artistically beautiful. Shout out to Niecy Nash. Now,
support.
Niecy Nash did that thing, boy. Niecy Nash, to go from a comedic actress to just, becoming what she did such a phenomenal job. So I don't want to leave this. I mean, we could talk about the real issues that this movie touches on, or this film touches on. Again, I want to clarify films versus movies. Films are there to create thought-provoking, ideas, and may not give you a happy ending at the end because it's still ongoing. And movies are that have a middle, beginning, and end, and it's designed to give you a happy, warm ending that only makes sense in Hollywood. So we definitely want to clarify that this is a film and it's super powerful. I hope it's studied for many years as people improve the conditions. Even though the world is going through what it's going through currently, we can only pray.
Some classes need to be going to see this movie as a field trip. I loved how they put at the end of the movie an opportunity for you to send someone to see this movie for free. So if you go see this film, stay to the end. Look at those credits. That is important. But there's a QR code that will come up. Scan that and buy a ticket for someone else to be able to go see this and experience this film that Ava DuVernay has put together. And
we'll put some of that information in the bio as well. So definitely, check out all the details from our sponsors, QuickBooks, to Forum, as well as just talking about this film. We will put all the information in our bios. We would love to continue to talk about it. I do want to end on a couple of quick notes. First of all, I want to give a quick shout out. The I Am Brilliant tour, or our fearless leader, Shemekka Ebony, is heading to Boston. Yes. I Am Brilliant tour, and Shemekka Ebony will be in Boston this week. So for those listeners listening in real time, definitely make sure. Yes, you check her out, but she'll be everywhere. And of course, as always, you can find the photos of her trip on our I Am Brilliant UR2 Instagram page. We definitely are still building up our YouTube channel for I Am Brilliant, so please click that and subscribe and like some of the videos we have up there. Show some of our speaking engagements and some of our travels around the globe, as well as definitely like and subscribe this episode of Sunday Stacks and share it with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. One thing I want to end this on, talking about this, modern day caste system, where we're at today, and this realization that where it's always been with us, but how it works today with our technology to make us more aware. I think Shemekka wanted me to mention something in my life. This has been a week of healing for me. I felt a little ill earlier this week, and I've healed and recovered. But most importantly, I've had a arm that broke many years ago that it's been hurting. And I realized throughout the hurt of rehabbing and trying to work it, the only way I've learned to get my arm to a place where it starts to heal is by slowly starting to break it again. And I realize right now that in our world, in our society, we have two broken arms, and we can choose to get surgery, or we can slowly start to break the parts of the arm that need to be broken, loosened, and stretched and rehabbed. and then slowly start to allow for the healing to begin with the arm well placed in its proper position. And I think that's physically happening to me right now, audience. But at the same time, that is the condition of our country right now. And I implore all of us not to stay here with just a little bit of brokenness in our silent corners, but we galvanize not just around a film alone, but the message of the film. The message, I encourage you to read Isabel Wilkerson's book, Caste. I too want to get further into it and learn more from it. So I'm a student now of hers, so I want to learn more and continue to educate myself on things that go beyond my own race and culture, but things that impact all people around the world, so we can truly have this brilliant future that me and Shemekka envision. So as we get ready to wrap up, you have anything else you want to say to the people?
Have a great week. Be intentional. Do something different. And check me out. If you want to speak further, we have leadership coaching. We have human being check-ins. Come check me out. I'm a leadership coach, and I can be there for you too. But if you don't want to do one-on-ones, then definitely check out Shemekka.com and get these self-help journals, While I'm Getting Naked and Sanctuary Life, to start to deal with the person within us that we want to become.
Awesome. So as always, as we end our show, I am brilliant.
And you are too.
Definitely come back and check us out, and you'll find all our information in the links. Peace.